What's your reaction to this? So you've been following this coaching search. What do you make of this Knicks hiring of Mike Brown? Because there's a lot of questions around this. What do you make of this hiring?
Yeah, I mean, I think it was kind of in the works for a while, for like a couple of days at least. Their focus had shifted to him, kind of as soon as you knew that he was coming back for that second interview, that he was going to be the hire. And listen, it's almost he's the safe choice in that he's
Hmm.
experienced. He's seen it all. He's coached some of the greatest players of all time, whether it's LeBron James, Kevin Durant when he was an associate head coach with the Golden State Warriors, Kyrie Irving when he was an assistant in San Antonio. He was with Tim Duncan, Kobe Bryant with the Lakers. So, in terms of basketball situations, the guy's seen it all. And he's stepping into a pressure packed circumstance with the New York Knicks. This is now win time for them. This is their win now window. And there's going to be a lot of pressure on him. And if he doesn't come through, the heat is going to shift to the front office, which fired Tom Thibodeau and went with a coach who, listen, I think if you told me during the conference finals that they would be firing Tom Thibodeau and replacing him with Mike Brown, I'd say bull crap.
Mm.
But it happened, and now we're in a situation where there's a lot of heat on the front office to make this work, to get to the conference finals at the very least, and probably get to the finals. And it's going to be on Mike Brown to do it as the coach.
So, Steph, I've seen some of the reaction from Knicks fans. I've talked to some other people. Some people will look at this, and you called it a safe hire. Some people will say it's a meh hire. Is he? But I think we talked about this, and what the Knicks are looking for is they wanted to see if somebody can maximize this roster. Is Mike Brown, based on his acumen that you just spoke of and everything that he's done in his career, two-time Coach of the Year winner, is he a guy that you think can maximize this roster?
Um, I mean, maximize it like can he be better? Can he make them better than Thibodeau? I don't think so. Well, I've been on this show before, and I've told you every player basically had a career year under Tibbs.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I think they got lucky because they were healthy, and a lot of things fell for them. I think they actually overachieved. So to me, they maximized who they were last season. The Indiana Pacers came one game away from winning the NBA championship. The Knicks were one collapse away, I think, from getting to a game 7 at home against that team, the Indiana Pacers. So if you look at the Knicks roster and what they did last season, I thought they were maximized. So it's hard for me to say, well, a new guy's going to come in and make them better because I thought they were about as good as they can be.
That is his task, though, right? It is to make him better, right? Even with that, even that would being said, and I think, would you look? I guess I should ask you this: would you look at this season that's upcoming now with all the pressure that's going to be on Mike Brown? Is this finals or bust? Is this championship or bust? What's how real is that pressure for Mike
Yeah,
Brown?
finals or bust. When you make a move like that and you see the circumstances that happen with Boston, where Jason Tatum, he's going to be out for most of the year, if not all the year. Same with Tyrese Halliburton. And you look at the landscape of the Eastern Conference and you say the Knicks should come out of there. I think the Cleveland Cavaliers, pose a real threat. But then if you go down the list, I think that you could say the Knicks are the number one team in the East right now. And when you fire a coach who had them within 2 games of getting to the NBA Finals, and then all the injuries that happen, you come into the season with an expectation that you'll make the NBA Finals. Now, listen, Tom Thibodeau wasn't fired for his results.
Right.
I've said this before. He was fired because he was difficult. He was difficult to work with. He didn't want to collaborate with the front office. When he was being told have a 10-man rotation and develop, focus, have a plan for the younger players. He just thought, and there were problems within the roster and players grumbling about different things. His mindset and philosophy was just win and it'll go away. It did not go away because people want to feel appreciated. They want credit for things. They want to feel heard. Um, but to me, I mean, winning is the bottom line. Tom Thibodeau did a lot of that. So, do you bring in a coach who collaborates with the front office, who um, has a 10-man rotation? Does that mean they're going to win a championship? I don't know.
Do you think Mike Brown is a better coach than Tom Thibodeau, or does that not matter? Does he have to be the better coach, or does he have to be the better coach that fits this roster?
I don't think he's a better coach than Tom Thibodeau. Maybe he's a better coach that fits this roster. I can't really tell you that answer right now. I mean, if you look at now, I know everybody looks at, hey, the guy's been fired 4 times, but if you look at why he got fired, I think you'll give him a pass. I mean, in each different situation. First time in Cleveland, the owner Dan Gilbert was like, "We got to keep LeBron James, so we got to make a change at the coach." That didn't work. LeBron James still left for the Miami Heat. Second time he was fired with the Lakers, he had replaced Phil Jackson, and there was like this thing where it's like the Lakers are the cream of the crop. We have Kobe Bryant. We got to win a title every year. That was unrealistic. It was also unrealistic to expect him to be Phil Jackson. He was fired. Second time he went to Cleveland, he butted heads with Kyrie Irving. In retrospect, not his fault. I don't really know. I haven't got a good handle on what happened in Sacramento. But if you look at what he did in Sacramento his first season, they were the number one rated offense in the NBA.
Yep.
They got to the playoffs for the first time in a very long time, and it kind of went down after that. But just looking at the results, he shouldn't have been fired.
Do we know who Mike Brown is? Right, because he came out when he first came coaching at his Cavs coach the first time. He's kind of known as a defensive guy. Then after he was under Kerr and what we saw him do with the Kings, more of an offensive guy. So are we getting Mike Brown the defensive head coach, or are we getting the offensive head coach? Who is Mike Brown? Or is it a combination of both that he's learned from all these stops?
Yeah, I mean, that's a good point. I think if you want to sell me on Mike Brown, you sell me on how he kind of adapted to the modern NBA and how he learned through the Warriors, through coaching with Steve Kerr, how to kind of design an offense to create the best, literally the number one rated offense in the NBA with talents that you couldn't say are exactly like superstars. De'Aaron Fox isn't a superstar. Domantas Sabonis isn't a superstar, but with those type of players, he created the number one offense in the NBA. So I think if you're looking at that aspect of him and his last stop with the Sacramento Kings, I think that's really where you sell me on the idea that this guy can come in and develop something that wasn't there last season. Because let's face it, the Knicks offense wasn't that creative. And part of that is just Jalen Brunson is a ball dominant point guard, and he's going to have the rock a lot. But if you figure out a way to incorporate some of the other weapons that the Knicks have, and I'm talking about Karl Anthony Towns, obviously, I'm talking about Mikal Bridges, then you're raising the ceiling here. I think a lot of the gripes that the players had was like when Jalen went out and OG Anunoby had a bigger role and Mikal Bridges had a bigger role, they kind of saw, all right, well, we told you we can do these kind of things. Give us the ball more. And then Tibbs never figured out, like, how do I incorporate all these guys at once? And I don't know if that's because of who Jalen Brunson is as a player or the schemes that were being drawn up offensively. But I think the idea is that you have a 10-man rotation where these guys aren't getting a ton of minutes. You have a lot more ball movement. A lot of guys feel like they're more involved, and you get the best out of, as you said before, maximize everybody on this roster. I don't. It sounds good in theory. I don't know. Like me personally, like OG Anunoby shouldn't have the rock that much. Like he can't really create for himself. He thinks he's a great offensive player and should create for himself. But if you see him with the rock, he's not. That's not who he is. Like he should be in the corner and he should be cutting to the rim and getting the backdoor passes and scoring that way.
I agree.
So, I mean, if you suddenly give him the ball and say, all right, we're going to have more of a community offense, I don't necessarily think that's going to make the team better, but we'll see. I mean, if that's really how it goes, then we'll see how it goes.
We all here on this panel agree that this is finals or bust for the Knicks. I'm with you guys on this 110%.
But what's bust? Then everybody gets fired?
Well, you know what?
Well, here's the thing.
Go
though.
ahead. Talk about that.
They said it on their press release when they fired Tibbs, where they're like, "We think we have a championship roster," or some variation of that. So, like, it's really they put it out there that this is essentially a championship or bust. See, I don't know what bust means.
But Bondy
at that
makes
point,
Bondy makes to me a good question. What is bust though? Right? So if they don't do this and this doesn't happen, and you're right, Bryan, they put this out there. The question that Bondy's raising here is more than fair. Okay, so who's then the fall person? Who's then accountable for it? It has to be the people that made the change to go from Tibbs to Brown. Now, I'm not saying that they shouldn't have done that. That's not my point. My point is the question that Bondy raises is, but what's bust? And when it's bust, which bust means they don't make the finals, but what happens when they bust? That's the question, right? Bondy, how do you see that going? Because the front office never fires themselves. That never happens.
Well, the owner can fire the front office. It's all about survival. How good are Leon Rose and William Wesley at playing the political game? Can they, if they don't get to the point that they expect them to, how do they survive? We'll see. I mean, maybe they won't need that, but it's all about the blame game, man, and who's taking the fall and who gets in the owner's ear and convinces him that they're not the problem. Because the other option is trade everybody.
I also think, though, to add to that,
fans are gonna love that.
But I also think to add to that, the process will matter. Like, if you don't make it to the finals at all, and in fact, if you lose in the second round of the playoffs to like the Atlanta Hawks, who actually look sneaky interesting, then that's one where it's like anything could be on the table. If you lose in the finals and push OKC to 6 or 7 games, like maybe, so I also think the process matters. Potential injuries will dictate the season, unfortunately, for every team. So a big part of this is
you haven't learned that, man. You got to learn, man. It's not about results. Like we talked about before this.
I agree.
Like if Tibbs gets past the Celtics, he's fine.
Yep, a lot of people were saying that stuff. A lot of people were saying that. Yep,
it's about relationships, man. It's always if they don't get you on results, they get you on relationships.
That is true in any job. Job. Like,
that's a fact.
Guys, Steph is out here preaching the gospel. That is true in any job. But Steph, I was going to ask you, the last thing I have for you before I let you go. If we all say it's finals or bust, but you know how this thing goes. We've all covered sports for a long time, and you know how the fans are going to be. 3-game losing streak in December. It's going to be get Mike Brown up out of here. You know how that's and the seats. The people going. I might be doing the show with you. I'm like, Steph, is Mike Brown in the hot seat? And the question will kind of be ridiculous. It will be. But you know that's going to happen. Do you think Mike Brown's equipped to handle that? Because it's going to come. It's going to happen. Do you think he's a coach that's equipped to handle that in New York?
So I wish I could give you an answer because I wish I could give you an answer where I know Mike Brown personally and can tell you yes or no. I don't know. But I mean, if you look at his history, the guy has been through the biggest pressurized experiences in the NBA. When you have LeBron James in his prime, or he was a little bit younger than his prime when Mike Brown had him, there's nothing bigger. There's no more bigger pressure than that. And you have to succeed, or else this guy might leave. They ended up losing, but he's been through that situation. When you take over for Phil Jackson with the Lakers, and you're coaching Kobe Bryant, there is no more bigger pressurized situation than that. When you're in Golden State and you have Steph Curry and Kevin Durant, and the goal is if you don't win a championship, you suck and you're a failure. There's no bigger pressure than that. So just based on his experience, I think he can handle that.